8 doctors. And I always tell everyone, if something is going on, always go back to the 8. Check them. What am I doing? What am I not doing? But they're also like tools in a toolbox. And when we need to repair, go back to the 8. Look at what tool you might need, or what tool your body, your house might need. And so that's what our Wednesday night meetings this month are going to be focused on, is those special 8 doctors that are God's doctors. And I hope that we learn a lot. I know one quote that I always went to was of the use of water. Oh, okay, the proper use of water. Okay, yeah, I drink water, I'm good. And then one day it hit me. And I think when we read Spirit of Prophecy, we need to start focusing on the words. Because even though that was a quote I knew by heart, and oh, yeah, I drink water, I'm good. One day that word, proper use of water, popped off the page at me, and I go, proper use of water? Okay, I bathe in it, I drink it. Is there something I'm missing? And then I started looking. And she talks about how we little know how to use water. And I thought, wow. So we know very little about one of God's doctors. We need to study and show ourselves approved. And so I hope that we experience that this month at these meetings. And I want to thank Fred and Julie for being here. I want to thank Fred for putting on these presentations. And I want to thank each one of you for being here. And I ask God's blessing on each one of us as we study and learn about God's special 8.
Got one? Okay. Well, this is not a sermon. This is a gathering together like a class with question and answer and discussion. All right. As has been said, the 8 natural laws of health is the subject, and we're going to be going over those each Wednesday night. So originally we talked about doing 2 each night, 8 of them, 4 nights. Kind of the math works out pretty good. But some of them are extra large as far as what needs to be discussed. Some of them are much smaller, more direct. So I'm going to take the liberty of not necessarily doing 2 each night. So tonight we're effectively just going to do 1 as well as a little overview. If you have questions, this is the time to bring them up as we're going along and discussing this, okay? So in nature we find 8 laws that govern the health of our bodies. Now an important part is from creation. This is not something that was done after sin entered the world. We can see that the 8 natural laws of health were in place from creation, which means they were intended for a perfect people. All right? That's the direction that we're still advancing and heading back to. From creation, these laws were provided by God to not only give our bodies the ability to heal, but to also develop our mind. As with any law designed by God, if you are faithful to obey it, if you are faithful and obey it, this was a misprint, you can be blessed. It's not a guarantee that you will be blessed by it. But the bottom line is it's like with any other law. If I know that I'm going to break a law, I know that I'm sooner or later going to pay the price. If the speed limit's 55 and I determine that I'm going to go 65, I am always going to be looking over my shoulder waiting for the time that it's going to hit me. Plain and simple. But if I'm doing the speed limit, if I'm obeying that law, then I know that I don't have to look over my shoulder and that I probably won't get in trouble. Okay? Be blessed with better health and healing of the body, mind, and spirit. The 8 natural laws are actually very simple, but the benefits are infinite. Okay? And we read in Ministry of Healing, page 127, it lays out exactly what they are: pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. It says these are the true remedies. This healthy lifestyle is often referred to as New Start, an acronym that was developed by the Seventh-day Adventist organization Weimar Institute for Health and Education, which stands for nutrition, exercise, and water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. And those are the 8 that we're going to be going over this month, and tonight we're going to be looking at nutrition. So it says, health does not come from proper nutrition or exercise alone. Complete health can only be found when all 8 principles are adopted. You may find it hard to put into practice all 8 laws at once. Now this statement here is for the person who might not know anything about the 8 natural laws of health. And when you start looking at it, it's easy to see, oh, well, this is not a problem. I don't have a problem with this at all. But this one, I kind of struggle with this. We're all at different rungs on the ladder where we're at. You know, for somebody to look at it and say, oh yeah, I don't have a problem with any of the 8 laws, that's normally pretty rare, because somebody, you know, normally doesn't sleep well, or somebody struggles with their spiritual life, or somebody hates to drink water. There's always something. So we can always be moving forward with trying to do better. Now again, as I say with everything, we're talking about a natural law. We're talking about doing. We're talking about obeying. We are not talking about any type of form of righteousness by works. We're talking about desiring to take care of our bodies. We're seeing, as we're going through the different classes this month, the relationship between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And if my sanctification is the work of a lifetime, and as we learned the other night, that sanctification only comes with the Holy Spirit living within us and working in our hearts, and if my body is out of tune with that, my temple is not a fit place for the Holy Spirit to be living in, now ultimately my sanctification can be at risk. So all of this is still dealing with our sanctification, our spiritual walk with God. Okay? Health does not come from proper nutrition or exercise alone. Like I said, complete health can only be found when all 8 principles are adopted. You may find it hard to put into practice all 8 laws at once, but we can take one step at a time. Each person will begin in a different place, and that's okay. The important thing is to always be taking steps forward with that goal in mind. You will find that some of these principles can be quickly added to your daily life without much effort, whereas others may require more discipline, education, and time to implement. Start where you can and don't give up. Start and keep moving forward. With perseverance and God's help, you will see how your body begins to heal, and you will be motivated to keep moving. Better health comes from making better choices. That's why we always say that we are working with people for natural ways to take back their health, one choice at a time. And that's what it boils down to. Don't try to absorb the whole big picture all in one shot. Take one bite at a time, one choice at a time, one step at a time. All right, let's look at nutrition then. Daily food choices make a big difference in one's health. Good nutrition is required to provide the body with all of the nutrients and fiber it needs to work its best. Plan your meals to include nutrient-dense foods that are also low in calories. You know, God created an absolutely marvelous machine, and it wants to heal itself, if at all possible, if it's given the right tools. Sari called the 8 natural laws of health tools. They are. They're tools that the body needs to help heal itself. Now, we know that we live in a sin-filled world, and we know that just by following the 8 natural laws of health does not mean that our health is going to improve as we get older. We know that's not right. We know that our health degrades as we get older, okay? But we can stem many things off. We can lessen the impact of many physical problems by adhering to these 8 natural laws of health. And one of the best things is massively nutrient-dense foods, which turns out to be vegetables, fruit, grains, legumes, all of the plant-based diets that we've been talking about. The first step is to begin the day with a good breakfast. This is said to be the most important meal of the day. Your body has been hopefully in a fast overnight, and it's now in the most opportune position to take food in. The stomach is empty, it's ready to go. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. People who skip breakfast, it's very detrimental to their metabolism. Because first thing in the morning, the body is looking for that food. You give it that food, it kicks the metabolism in right off the bat. Don't skip breakfast. Choose foods like unrefined grains, potatoes with skins, nuts, and fruits. This will give the necessary energy for the day's activities. Avoid processed foods. This is one of the biggest things that is taking our people down as Seventh-day Adventists. It's taking this whole country down, is processed foods. I could talk for hours on the ills and the problems dealing with processed foods. Okay? Now, as we've talked about in our cooking class, the first one that we put on, each individual in their own mind has to make that determination as to what is too much of a processed food for me. Because the bottom line is I was a master beekeeper. Honey is a processed food. In its raw, pure state, it's processed food. The bees have processed it to some degree. But I don't consider it a highly refined, highly processed food because nothing's been added to it. You've started off with nectar and you've added some digestive enzymes and you now have honey. Okay? But Big Franks and chocolates and all of the things that many Adventists really love is highly refined and highly processed, and very much a lot of it is lacking fiber, and it's detrimental to our bodies. Okay? Avoid processed foods as they are generally nutrient poor and high in calories and sugar. Eat a variety of fruits, grains, vegetables, legumes, seeds, and nuts. Avoid animal protein. Limit fat, sugar, and salt. Eat a good breakfast, a moderate lunch, and a light supper. There's much knowledge and wisdom in only eating 2 meals a day. That's great for many people, but it's not for everybody. Okay? You get somebody who works out in the heat all day long. 2 meals a day is not going to properly sustain them. Okay? Those of us, as we age and we've retired and we're not doing that type of physical labor, my wife and I normally do 2 meals a day. So you have to make that decision yourself as well. Don't eat too late at night or in between meals, allowing 4 to 5 hours between your meals. Now, this is one that is definitely at odds with the normal nutrition in society. Many times they say, eat many meals during the day, 4, 5, 6 little meals. Okay? But you have to think about this. Your stomach is a muscle, is it not? So what would happen if you continually worked out a muscle nonstop, 24 hours a day, never giving it a time to rest and rebuild? That's what's happening every time that we snack between meals. When you eat breakfast, your digestive system goes through the process, the digestive enzyme starts, the breakdown of the food starts, it's going through. It needs to get to the point where the stomach empties so that the stomach can rest, do what it needs for rebuilding in preparation for the next meal. But too many times we go, and I'm guilty of it many times as well. We need to keep the meals and not snack in between the meals. If we want something in between the meals, water. We'll be talking about that as well. Eat at regular times. Watch your combination of foods. What does that mean, your combination of foods? Has anybody ever heard that we should not eat vegetables and fruit at the same meal? Why? I mean, we're real good at saying this is what we're supposed to do. But why? We've worked with kids long enough at several different schools. We shouldn't just be making statements. What's the principle behind what we're doing? Any ideas?
They digest at a different rate.
Absolutely. That's the whole key. So if I'm putting food into my stomach at a meal, the idea is that that meal gets broken down, synthesized, and absorbed into the bloodstream together. If I eat fruit, which digests very quickly, and vegetables that digest much slower, okay, now we're going to be setting up the stage for fermentation within the digestive system. So we need to be very careful of that, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that at your meal, all you can eat is nothing but broccoli. You can eat broccoli, you can eat sweet potatoes, you can eat asparagus. They're all the same. They're high fiber, they're vegetables, okay? And the same with fruits and berries. You can mix those together, okay? Don't mix foods at the same meal that digest quickly and ones that take a long time, such as fruit and vegetables. Avoid highly refined foods of all kinds, if at all possible. Now, I say if at all possible. Eating refined foods in and of themselves once in a while is not going to kill you. But like I said, too many times we get stuck on that bridge from going from a meat diet, those of us that used to be meat eaters, going from a meat diet over to a plant-based diet. You know, those analogs were designed as a bridge to get us from one lifestyle to another, and many times we get stuck on that bridge. We like what we're eating, okay? But once in a while is probably not a big deal. The less of it that you have, the better off you're going to be, okay? Yes, ma'am. We have a question here. Where's the microphone? Mr. Microphone? Right here.
So just for example, give some examples of the highly refined foods that you're talking about.
Well, I know the ones that are loved greatly within our church, like I said, the Big Franks, most all of the, I'm not going to use brand names, but your canned goods that you normally see. The health food stores carry them all of the times. Your chocolates, your burger patties, your Impossible burgers, your all of those types of things. Your cheese products, your plant-based cheese products. Yes, it's not dairy, but it is highly processed. Highly processed. She's on a roll. You'll probably want to stay up here for a couple minutes.
So define what you say, if possible. You know, if somebody says, okay, well, I don't eat it that much. I only eat this processed food like 3 times a week. You have another person that says, oh, I only eat it once or twice a month. So give a good example of what you mean by avoid if possible. You know,
As people are transitioning over As we talked about, we should be making advancements. It's expected that the person that is here just leaving a standard American diet is going to be partaking of highly processed foods more often, if you were to look at it like on a calendar, than the person who's over here across the bridge going into a full plant-based lifestyle. This person over here should be very infrequent, once a month, something like that, a couple times a month. But again, the bottom line is your walk with Christ. What is God convicting you? How is he convicting you? Once we know the knowledge, it's now between you and God. It's not for anyone else to say, oh, Linda, you're eating too much of that stuff. That's not our job, okay? So you know if you're standing on the bridge enjoying the Impossible Burgers all the time, or whether you're continuing on that path to become completely plant-based, okay? Anything else? Okay. All right. Let's see. Avoid highly refined foods of all kinds, if possible. What we've been talking about. The part that is generally removed contains most of the vitamins and minerals. Eat the skin along with your fruit and vegetables as much as possible. Okay? Now, in that aspect, there are individuals that have a great difficult time swallowing and chewing the skins of different fruits and vegetables. Okay? So in that case, instead of, oh, I don't want to eat that because the skin bothers me, take the skin off. You're still going to get more nutrients from the vegetable, from the fruit, even though you're not eating the skins. All right? All right, I've got some bullets down here. Eat plant-based, incorporating many fruits, vegetables, legumes, seeds, nuts, and grains. Has anybody ever heard the statement, eat the rainbow? Yeah. So what does that mean? Colorful. If we are eating the rainbow, if we're having a tremendous variety of fruits and vegetables and nuts and grains and legumes and beans, and we've got green and we've got purple and we've got red and we've got yellow, we've got all of the different colors, we don't need to fixate our minds on what are my calories, am I getting enough protein, am I getting this, am I getting that? Because if we're eating a variety of everything that God has given to us, more than likely, and I'm not going to say definitively because we do live in a world where the soil is degraded and we don't have the nutrients that we should, but we don't need to worry about that so much. I know I'm blessed. I'm with the VA, the Veterans Administration, and I can go in whenever I want and get a blood workup done. Normally about every 6 months I go in and have a full blood workup done. And I'm never lacking in any of my vitamins, my minerals, or anything like that. The B vitamins, the B12, and I'm not taking supplements. Well, wait a minute. I'm taking zinc occasionally. No? D. I'm taking D. But nothing else is ever lacking. And all we focus on is just having the variety and eating as much of the plant-based foods as we can. Okay? Avoid wheat if needed. Normally, you'll know if you need... I'm sorry? Wheat.
I've been eating that all of my life.
And that's why I say avoid wheat if needed.
Oh, if you need it.
Yeah, because, and it goes on to say there, it's highly recommended that you look into not only the history of the current wheat that we eat, but also the way in which it's harvested and processed. Many people are becoming more and more sensitive to this modern grain and the way it causes inflammation in our body. Many people can do just fine on it. They're still doing fine, okay? But there are many that are having great issues with it. We have a question in the back.
As more of a statement, if Larry gets a hold of wheat in anything, within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, his heart is racing. He's that sensitive to this modern wheat. And that means it can be in the smallest minuscule, you read it in the fine print, this is made at a facility that made blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always have to look for that, because even that right there, I'll pick it up right here.
Right. Now, on the flip side, we have to be careful, because we can climb out of this ditch of if a person is struggling with wheat, and crawl right into the ditch on the other side of the road and start eating all of the highly processed gluten-free foods. And they're just about as bad as most of the actual highly refined and processed foods. They've got so many different starches in them. Okay, avoid regularly eating out and cook at home. I have met people before that effectively don't use their kitchen. They eat out so much, and I can't wrap my mind around that. You say we've got somebody in the back that has a question? Yes, sir, Mr. Larry.
Yeah, she's right. The wheat just tears my stomach up. But the other thing I was doing, 2 days ago, we had a delightful breakfast. Gravy, a patty. What was the other thing?
You were focused on the gravy and the patty.
I think I know where the gravy and the patty came from.
I don't know where the gravy and the patty
But
came
the
from.
reason I'm saying that is, do you know how long it has been since I have had gravy and a patty? I mean, the gravy be really done well. And I'm sitting there and this can't be sinful. Can't keep eating. So anyway, but to the person that made it, thank you.
That's what times like what we're doing right now is. It's to help educate and bring us a little bit further. So many times I've heard people say, oh, I don't want to be a vegan. It tastes horrible. It can. It certainly can if it's not cooked properly. Okay? We have down here.
I want to know what we can eat, veggies or fruits with vitamins B12, B6, B1. Do you have any names, any fruits?
Of fruit
Fruits or vegetables?
with the bees.
By the way, I want to know something I made tonight. Somebody give me a package of tofu.
Okay.
And I made tofu. I fried a big half onion, big one, a half. I cut in small pieces, fry the onion, throw the tofu in there, and then peppers with the color, green, yellow, red. And I put some flakes, hot pepper,
Okay.
salt. And I said to myself, thank you for the one who gave me the tofu. It was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And I plan from no one buy that kind.
As far
Because
as
I don't know how to shop. Since I became a Seventh-day Adventist, I don't know what I'm doing. I just go get the fruits, the vegetables, what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my kitchen.
I would suggest that you get together with Julie and talk with her a little bit afterwards, because she can guide you a whole lot more as to which vegetables and which fruits are higher in which nutrients and things like that. Okay? All right. Take time to masticate your food well to improve digestion. Many times that we forget that digestion starts in our mouth. Okay? When we start chewing here, we're breaking it down before it gets to our stomach. Not only that, but we're also starting the enzymes for digestion in our mouth. All right? So take your time. That's why when we coach people and we're talking with people, I want to know, how many times do you eat each week uninterrupted at your meal, where you're able to take your time and eat? If you're on the go, if you're standing and eating, if you're doing this, you're doing that, You're quick, gotta go. You're not taking your time and focusing on eating. Okay? Eat your meals at the same time every day with no snacking in between. We've already talked about the snacking. Getting your body in a regular regimen, a regular routine, a regular schedule, going to bed at the same time, eating the same meals. Very, very important. Okay? Consider intermittent fasting and even a 24-hour fast every week. In intermittent fasting, you can do that quite easily. If your last meal is like around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you don't eat anything else, and then you come all the way around and eat 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, you've done an intermittent fast. That's good on the body. All right. Got a few texts there that you can look up and study for further studies on this, looking at the original diet that God outlined for Israel. Okay. So let's look at 22 nutrition tips for your home. Okay. Include whole grains in your family's eating plan. Now, we just talked a minute ago about doing away with wheat when possible. Here we're talking about including whole grains. If you're going to be eating wheat, you want to be with whole grains. You don't want to have the dead bread. That's the worst thing in the world for you. Okay? Dead bread, the white, refined flour. Yeah, got a question right here.
So I've noticed that when I get the good bread that's good for you and so forth, it really doesn't last very long on the shelf. It has to be refrigerated or frozen.
That's right.
I'm going to say I have been eating some bad bread because I know I can leave it on the counter for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe longer. I don't even know. And it won't go bad.
That's right.
But that's preserved.
They've done experiments on some of those snack foods, like Twinkies and things like that, and they've left them out for months and months and months out of the wrapper, and they've never gone bad.
But it's Pepperidge Farm, 15 grain, whole wheat looking bread. I mean, it tastes the best. It's moist. It's just bad for you, I'm sure.
You have to look at the ingredients. See, that's another thing, that we always talk about. Don't look at the advertising on the front of the box or the bag, because it's going to say natural, it's going to say whole this, all of these different things. You've got to flip it over and read the ingredients. If it's an ingredients list that a small young lad can understand, then it's probably something that we can eat. But if it's got words that we have to look up, hey, Google, we don't want to be eating that. And when you're talking about having, let's just say a granola bar that fits in your hand, and you almost have a half a page of ingredients for it, not good. Not good at all. You don't even have to look at the details of it. Just the simple fact, it's not going to be good for you. Okay? Iris?
What about the vinegar if it's in the bread?
Vinegar can be a problem. We're counseled, and this is another thing, talking about principles and concepts. We're told in the spirit of prophecy that we shouldn't be eating pickles. Has anybody ever read that?
Or vinegar.
Okay. Well, what is a pickle? It's a cucumber. What's wrong with a cucumber? Nothing. It's the process. So when you look at things in context, what's being talked about is the problem with vinegar. Now, I know that apple cider vinegar, for whatever reason, is very different than regular white refined vinegar. Apple cider vinegar has got many health attributes to it. We use it occasionally. But white vinegar, we won't touch it. Okay? All right. Choose healthy, good fats. Use avocado oil for high heat cooking and extra virgin cold pressed, preferably first pressing, olive oil for salads in place of other oils, butter, and other solid fats to minimize saturated fat and avoid trans fat. This is another subject that can be discussed for hours and hours, but effectively, we eat way too much oil. We cook with way too much oil. If anybody is still frying food, I encourage you to change that. Get yourself an air fryer. That made an unbelievable difference in foods that Julie was cooking for us. Because you can make your French fries with no oil. You can take your tofu and bread it and make tofu fingers, tofu sticks with no frying. And they're delicious, crunchy on the outside, fully cooked on the inside. I mean, I should have stock in air fryers as much as I really like them, okay? You can do a lot with them, all right? Oils, when they get to a certain temperature, they start putting off free radicals. Avocado oil is the best oil if you're going to cook with it. Just a little bit, okay? And then your olive oil is the best if you're going to be eating it like on a salad or mixed in with something. Yes, sir?
You use coconut oil?
You can use coconut oil, but coconut oil has got, I'm lost. It's high in saturated fats. So basically, coconut oil, any of the oils that turn solid at room temperature, they're heavy in saturated fats, and that's definitely what we really don't want in our blood system.
Right, so when you look at coconut oil and it's sitting on the shelf and how solid it is, and sometimes it can be very hard, that is going into your body, and that's what it does. It clogs the arteries.
Yeah.
So
Now,
just like
again, is there anything wrong with coconuts? No. Coconuts are fine. What we have to remember is that coconut oil has been refined. When you're taking that coconut, you're eating that coconut all together. You've got the oil with it, a certain amount, and you've also got the fiber. You've got all of the fiber as well that helps deal with the problems of the oil and the sweetness to it and the calories. Yes, but it's still greatly condensed. Correct? It's refined. Because you're not going to get that much oil out of one piece of coconut that you're eating. Okay, it's the same concept as dried fruit. Okay, does dried fruit have more sugar than fresh fruit? Okay, so somehow then we've taken an apple, a fresh apple, and we've packed more sugar into it when we've dried it, correct? No. What it is the sugar is concentrated because the fruit has been dried and shrunk down. So that's why, what I'm getting at is the concentration in the foods that we're eating. Okay? All right. Be a good role model. It's hard to expect your kids or other family members to eat their vegetables if you're not eating yours. Teach your kids and show by example what healthy foods are and how much we should be eating to keep our bodies healthy. Number 4, read nutrition facts labels. Look for foods that provide vitamins, minerals, and dietary fiber. Limit sodium, added sugars, saturated fat, and avoid trans fat. Look for the heart check mark on products in the grocery store to help you know you are making a healthy choice. If there is any cholesterol on the label, there is meat in the ingredients, period. Animal products, okay? Because cholesterol in the ingredients only comes from animal products. Now, being as we're talking about nutrition facts, a lady shared with me at our cooking class the other day an app that I had never seen before, and we used it today while we were out at the grocery store, and it was wonderful. It's called Yucca, Y-U-K-A. If you've not seen this, Yucca, and it's a white app with a carrot on it on an angle. And you take your barcode on some sort of food, you scan it, and it automatically pops up, and it's got a matrix that it has graded that food as far as, is it good, is it poor, is it bad for your health. It goes into why that is, high sodium, high fat, all of these different things, and then it gives you recommendations for something better. And it was like, that's pretty good, and it's a free app. So check that out. It might be a tool for you to use as well. Cook more at home. When you cook, you have more control over the ingredients in your food and the amount you eat and serve. Plan to cook at home more often than eating out. I can honestly say that we get sick most times when we eat out, to some degree. Some sort of stomach distress, or I go into a sneezing fit, which tells me right off the bat that there was MSG in there, even though they said that they don't use MSG. There's no guarantees when you go out to eat. Majority of everything is always deep fat fried. You don't know the quality, you know. So, yep, there's times when we have to go out to eat. We're on the road, we're doing something. Eat at home whenever possible. It's the safest thing to do. Eat plant-based, heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. My wife has put together a 6-seed medley that we have in a little jar that I keep in the freezer so that it doesn't go bad, and I just sprinkle it on anything that I can when we're eating. And chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, those are some of them right off the bat. There's sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. There's also walnuts here. Alga oil, which comes from algae, and perilla oil, which comes from a tree, if I'm not mistaken. They're all good sources of omega-3 fatty acids. You want to make sure that you're focusing on the omega-3s, getting more of the omega-3s and less ratio of the 6s and 9s. Okay? Number 7, enjoy a small handful of nuts or seeds each day. Look for unsalted or lightly salted nuts. Almonds, hazelnuts, peanuts, pecans, pistachios, walnuts are all good choices. Also, stir them in plain. I thought I took that off of there. That's not supposed to be there with the yogurt. We don't support yogurt. When we can find the plant-based, unsweetened yogurt, then yes. Okay, but for the most part, the fat-free, low fats are loaded with sugars. Okay, or mix it with oatmeal, sprinkle them on salads. The reason is your nuts, a handful of nuts, and there are, like we have Kroger up in Tennessee that we shop at most of the time, and they have deluxe nuts, which doesn't have the peanuts in them, so it's a higher quality nut. They're a higher protein. They're less salt. And when you take a handful of nuts each day, you're adding some more of that variety into your rainbow that you're eating. You're getting the protein from that. You're also getting, like they've got Brazil nuts in there, which is real good with, the selenium? Okay, so you're getting a lot more nutrients, but you have to be careful that you don't do like Fred does. I'm just getting a handful of nuts. I like eating nuts. I like cashews, and I like almonds, and I can overdo it very easily. So you just have to be very careful of that. All right. Choose fresh, canned, or frozen vegetables and fruits. I think we all pretty much know that fresh is definitely the best. If you're going to end up getting canned, you need to be very careful of if they've put preservatives in it, how much sodium is in it. You can go ahead and rinse them. Just like with beans, you can get rid of a lot of the sodium by rinsing it. Okay? And frozen vegetables and fruits are always a good one to back up. They're all loaded with nutrients and dietary fiber. They're also naturally low in calories and sodium. Fresh, frozen, and canned produce can all be healthy choices. For canned, choose the no salt added, reduced sodium, and no added sugar options. For frozen, Look for those with no sauces or seasonings. I don't know if you have any of these. We have stores up where we're at called like United Grocery Outlet. It's a store chain that they purchase foods from other stores that are getting ready to expire, or from stores that are going out of business. And many times you can get tremendous financial deals on foods, then there's nothing wrong with them. And canned goods, many times we find organic beans, organic vegetables, and they're nowhere close to being expired. I don't know if you have anything like that around here. It's definitely worth looking into. Okay? We had gone to this one store that was actually, it was half price, and they were going out of business. And a long story made short, they had one of the big crates of the bags of the Butler soy curls. And I talked with the manager and I said, how much for the whole thing? Make a deal. I'll get rid of it for you today. And we ended getting, I don't remember how many bags were in there. There were several hundred bags, and we got them for 10 cents a bag. And we immediately called the church and said, get this out to all the church members. So now, I brought that up. Is that a processed food? The soy curls? Yes, it's processed. But when you read the ingredients, there's very, very minimal added ingredients to it. And when you go onto the Butler Soy Curl website and look at what the processing is, it is processing the texture of it, virtually not changing anything about the actual soy curl itself. Question back here?
So back to the salt idea. Some people actually work outdoors and burn through a lot of salt in their system. They may not want to have to wash all their salt off their foods necessarily if they don't eat a lot of it anyway.
Correct. Everybody, the big thing is we each need to know our body. You know when you're feeling good. You know when you're not feeling good. You know when you're holding weight, water weight, and when you're not. So that's a very good point. Your sodium, your electrolytes, tremendously, your electrolytes can go out. Now, with that, I encourage you, many times everybody just reaches for a bottle of Gatorade. There's so much sugar in these things. There's other ways around it that you can get your electrolytes instead of doing those sugary drinks. You need to investigate it. They've got the little pouches that you can add that doesn't have the added sugar. Just be careful. But like what Randy's saying, there's many people that, there's more liquid going out than what's coming in. You got to be very careful of that. You might not want to be filtering out all of your sodium out of your canned beans. Okay. Number 9, use fresh or dried herbs and salt-free spices. Stock your kitchen with herbs and spices such as basil, parsley, cayenne, chili powder, cumin, curry, ginger, crushed red pepper flakes, and a salt-free seasoning blend. Use these to flavor foods instead of salt. Add a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime to add flavor too. Now again, it's talking about doing away with salt. Now exactly what Randy was talking about. Some people are going to need more salt. But as a whole, most Americans that are on a standard American diet, that are eating processed foods, are taking in way too much sodium every day. Okay? Question right here?
It's a
Comment?
comment.
I'll just say the microphone.
This is not to say, to make a comment on that paragraph, but I just want to share. I've gotten to where I'm watching Barbara O'Neill a lot, and she's so informative she does a subject at a time. And when she talked about cayenne, I was all ears when she said there are like 35 pages on that compared to 2 or 3 on other herbs. And I've had a blood pressure problem, I don't even know how long, 30, 40 years maybe. And since I've been taking the cayenne, The lady was at my house today, the last one with making a visit after my surgery. And she said it's 111 over 65. And I told her ever since it took a little while to kick in, but since I've been taking cayenne, I don't have a blood pressure problem anymore. It's gone.
Good.
So I just wanted to share that since the word cayenne was mentioned here.
How much does she take?
How much are you taking?
Well, Carol, my best friend, shared with me, and she told me to take a quarter teaspoon mixed in water, or I did it in juice, and then after a week to change it to a half a teaspoon. I never got, and Barbara even said that some people she calls it a tickle. Well, it's a scalding hot burn to me. And I tried and tried and tried it. And we all know it's better if it goes straight to the bloodstream. And she explained that as well. But I did have some capsules, and the vegetarian capsules. And I went back to those, and it still seems to be working. So how much is in a capsule, I'm not sure. But I do 2 capsules 3 or 4 times a day is what I'm doing. But I'm still looking at the bag that Carol bought for me on my counter. And I may get brave and get back to it because I know it's better. It's better all the way around. And somebody might say, well, just put it in a little grape juice or something. And I did try that in cranberry juice. So if that would work, maybe I could go back to the juice and not the water.
So 2 capsules 3 or 4 times a day, that's a pretty good amount. Yeah. All right. Pack your own lunches. Number 10. Whether you're going to the office or the kids are off to school, it's a good idea to bring your lunch so everyone can make healthy choices. Try vegetable sandwiches with tofu mayonnaise on 100% whole grain bread, lettuce, tomato piled on it. Opt for salads with beans, nuts, chickpeas for protein. Get creative and use leftovers out of the refrigerator too. That's something that happens at our house all the time. There's a creative type of thing that occurs with leftovers. How about using last night's dinner in a pita pocket or a tortilla wrapper for today's lunch with maybe a slice of plant-based cheese? Maybe a slice of plant-based cheese. Don't forget to pack side dishes with your lunch too, including fruits, nuts, seeds, and cut vegetables. Again, it just boils down to you're in more control of what you're eating than being somewhere and trying to go out for lunch. You're only got a small amount of time, or even what's even worse that we see where we're at is if you're in town and you're at the hospital visiting somebody or something and going and trying to eat in an area like that, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. All right. Cook vegetables in healthy ways. Different cooking methods will make the same vegetables taste a little different. So if you don't like steamed broccoli, for example, try roasting it. Roasting brings out the natural sweetness in many vegetables, such as cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, and butternut squash. Try grilling zucchini, yellow squash, and corn on the cob. Carrots, snow peas, and asparagus are delicious steamed. Remember that boiling removes many nutrients from the food. Back to the air fryer. Air fryer is fabulous. Julie she'll take different vegetables and she breads them with gluten-free type of panko, and puts them in the air fryer. Changes the whole taste and consistency as well. Absolutely delicious. Delicious. Okay. Number 12, remember your drinks. It's not good to drink with your meals. Why? Because it dilutes the digestive enzymes. Exactly. Causes incomplete digestion. So what you should do is you need to not stop drinking, just get your water in between meals. Stop drinking maybe an hour before you eat. Okay? And drink only water. even 100% fruit juices, we need to be really careful with those because of the massive amounts of sugar that's in them. Most of them have tremendous amounts of added sugar, but even like Welch's grape juice, probably one of the most purest and healthiest drinks out there. Okay, we talked earlier about the actual amount of sugars that are condensed into something. You got a lot of sugar in grape juice. Okay. Okay. Number 13, enjoy fruit for dessert. Include fruits when making desserts instead of the traditional desserts with all the added sugars. I mean, Adventist churches are known for desserts. We need to be more on the fruit side. Number 14, use healthy cooking techniques instead of frying foods, which adds a lot of extra calories and unhealthy fats. Use healthier cooking methods such as baking, steaming, or air frying. Grow your own garden if possible. Kids are more likely to try something they've grown themselves. We've seen that many times. Kids just have a blast. They're growing something themselves. They want to eat it. You also know where your food came from if you grow it yourself. Many times, we're not immune to the problems. Every once in a while I see an E. coli breakout or something. Spinach, something like that. So we have to be careful. If at all possible, grow your own. We always recommend as well, if at all possible, if you can afford it, buy organic, buy local. If you can't buy organic, don't not get it. Get the regular, wash it, do the best that you can. That's what we try to encourage everybody. If you can get organic, get it. But if not, still eat the vegetables and the fruit. Schedule time each week to plan healthy meals. Keep your recipes, grocery list, and coupons organized to make planning and budgeting easier. The more you plan, the less likely you'll be tempted to choose fast foods or make other unhealthy choices. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say something with my dear wife again with that, okay? I've never heard of anybody that shops like she does. When we go to town to go grocery shopping, she's already got everything laid out. We're going to go to Publix first, then we're going to go to Kroger, then we're going to go to Aldi, then we're going to go to, most times it's 4 to 5 stores. I know. Because she's getting the exact quality that she's wanting. She's shopped the prices from each place and she's getting it at the cheapest at the place that she wants. This one's got double coupons. This one's got a military discount this day. So it's not only just shopping for the best quality, but she's also working at the absolute best price. Okay? Not everybody's got that kind of time, but we try only to go to town, once a week if at all possible.
I gave up on coupons a long time ago.
Well,
They don't have Brussels sprouts on sale, broccoli on sale. What I like, they don't give me sale, is dog food. No.
most coupons, yes, are with the processed foods from the big food manufacturers.
I don't remember when I shop with coupons. I know a family, which I admire. They say they don't spend a penny in food. They buy everything with coupons. A couple, husband and wife, no children, only dogs. What they don't eat, they give to the dogs, I guess. Anyway, I thought it was to me something special. Buy the whole food, not me. I like blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, bananas, strawberries, all the colors. They don't have them on sale.
Well, there are, and again, I'm talking about where we live at. So like bananas, we have several stores where you can go in there and you can get ones that are not quite perfect and they'll sell you a great big bag of them, like a bundle and a half of bananas for less than half the price. Yeah, but these are not very ripe. You can still peel them and eat them. They just don't look perfect. So you've got to, if you're concerned with that, you need to do price comparison. Check it out. But I agree with you. The majority of the coupons seem to be for all of the processed foods and drinks. All right. Again, check your nutrition fact labels. Serving size does not always equal portion size. Check the serving size and servings per container on foods you buy. What might seem like a reasonable portion might be 2 or more servings. I always talk about the little Kellogg's boxes, the little travel boxes of cereal. I think we've all seen those. If you look at it and you look on the back, the added sugars and the different things, it's so low. But how many people eat just one little box of that? Not many. You're going to eat more than that. So that's more than a single serving. Read and be very wise when it comes to the labels. Get your kids in the kitchen. They'll be more excited about eating healthier foods when they've been involved. Give them age-appropriate tasks and keep a step stool handy. Watch out for added sugars. You know, we've talked a lot about fruits tonight. Fruits have sugar, don't they? Mm-hmm. If you've got diabetes or you have pre-diabetes, you still need to be careful of the amount of fruit that you're eating, because that amount of sugar, even though it's natural sugar, it can give you spikes in your blood sugar. Now, when we're talking about added sugars, we're talking about all of the different sugars that are added to foods. Okay? A person will do well to stay away from all the added sugars. They add extra calories, but no helpful nutrients. Sugar-sweetened beverages and soft drinks are the #1 source of added sugars for most Americans. I think it was, as of last year, the average American is getting 17 teaspoons of added sugar every day. I showed it the other day in our cooking class. It's a mason jar, that full, every day, of added sugars. Eat the rainbow. We already talked about that. Color your plate when eating out. The kitty crayons on the table aren't the only way to add color to your meal. Look for colorful fruits and vegetables that you can add as sides or substitutions for other ingredients in your dishes. Again, remember to eat the rainbow for nutrition. So if you go out to eat, do your best at trying to modify and change things to things that you know are going to be better for you.
We need sweet tomatoes.
There are some. There's some very nice sweet tomatoes.
They're gonna come back the 26th.
Oh, you're talking, oh, okay.
It's gone.
Oh, my. Eat together as a family, the last one on the list. Sit down together and eat as a family as many times as possible. It can reduce stress, boost self-esteem, and make everyone feel more connected. It slows things down as you're eating, helps you chew better. You're able to connect with the family from the day. All right, so nutrition is a very big one that we need to always be considering. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say you're more apt to eat faster.
How so?
Can't hear when these are on my head.
How are you more apt to eat faster?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're standing, if you're doing other things while you're eating, yeah, you're trying to hurry through and you're going to eat fast. We need to. How many people here when you were growing up was told by your mom to chew at least 20 times? Well, there's a good reason behind that. You know, chew your food right. Slow down. Take your time. All right. Any other comments or thoughts as we close?
I took Long time ago in Portugal, I choked in a piece of beef because I didn't chew 20 times.
That's another reason not to eat beef. It'll choke you. All right. Well, if that's it, we'll go ahead and close for tonight. Thank you all for coming. Why don't we go ahead and have a word of prayer? Father, we give you thanks for the knowledge and the wisdom that you have laid out for us. We just ask, Lord, that you would give us the desire, the willpower to follow through with what you have asked us to do. Help us to see the need for better health, not only for our bodies, but also for clearness of thought in our mind, that we might be able to more readily choose between good and evil. Be with each member here this night as they go home. Please keep them safe until we come together again. For we do ask this in Jesus'